time. What
It's your time now, bro. Welcome. Let's give Tuup a big clap. Unmute. We need to hear the clapping. We need to come and join us. Okay. Everybody mute.
Is any question anyone would like to ask me?
Yes, please. Ask Tuup a question before he starts telling his stories, please. So, all right, you're typing it up. Fantastic, wonderful.
Yeah, typing it up. That's good.
Brilliant. What made you start storytelling, Tuup?
Good point. What made me start storytelling? Well, I was always writing, or trying to write my expression and my poetry. So I was putting pencil to paper or pen to paper, like most of you who may be doing now within the Wappy. And then I was sometimes performing my poetry. But what made me become a storyteller was one day when I saw one of my uncles, I will call him Mark Matthews, as I mentioned in that clip. And there was these get-togethers that elder people than myself used to have. And I saw him get up and tell a story called Carlton, about a young boy who was flying a kite and what he dreamed of and the adventure of growing up in the Caribbean. And I really enjoyed the retelling of this story and the freedom that the storyteller has in their speech, in their action to tell a story. Because as most of you may know, when you're writing your poetry or a poem, when it comes to reciting your poem, usually you recite it or you read it from the page, unless you have memorized your story or your poem. But when I realized my uncle just tell a story free with movement just from his mind, of course he remembered the story, I thought that is the way to go. That is the freedom of really being free from the page, and you can say not whatever you want, but you have a beginning, you have a middle, and you have an end, and you roughly know where you want to go to. But let's say in a poem, you try to keep to the words on the page. Whereas story, maybe it was an old woman, but maybe it was an old man. Maybe the character can change, the story is going to be the same. Maybe it was dark winter night, a dark winter night, but maybe it was just a cold icy night. So the story stays the same, but some elements can change. So I thought this is freedom to think, freedom to speak, and freedom to retell a story.
Thank you. That was a wonderful question and a wonderful answer. I think what we'll do, you demonstrate a story to us, and then the children might want to ask you another question.
This is true. So I was thinking of a story, and for me, storytelling, like I was saying earlier, is about that early traditional oral tradition. So storytelling for me is the once upon a time. It's a magical place. It has no boundaries. It's a place where like a bird can fly, your imagination can fly. So I enjoy stories from First Nation people, Native American, Indian, Aboriginal, Scottish, Irish, English, African, Indian, Chinese, the nations that tell stories, because there's no boundaries in the world of once upon a time. So here's my story. It's one of friendship. There's a young girl named Tianjie. What is her name?
Tianjie.
Tianjie is her name. Sad to say, Tianjie was growing up in Haiti. Sad to say that Tianjie, as she was growing up in Haiti, there was an earthquake. Tianjie had lost her mother and her father, sad to say. But she was ordered to go and live with her great aunt. Tianjie was very sad, but she went to live with her great aunt. But her great aunt was not a nice woman at all. And great aunt did not want to feed and clothe and look after Tianjie. Her great aunt thought that Tianjie was a burden on her. So Tianjie was very unhappy. One day, the great aunt, she was out in the woods collecting some firewood to return home to make a fire. She made a big, big bundle, and she tried to pick the bundle up and put it on her head. But for the life of her, the bundle was too heavy. And the great aunt said, you know something? That child I have to look after, she's eating me out of house and home. I wish someone could just do away with her and take her away. And this bundle I'm trying to lift is too heavy. If there was anyone who could come and help me lift it, I would give them anything they ask. But they say, be careful what you ask for. For a man came out from the woods with skinny, skinny arms and skinny, skinny legs and a skinny, skinny face. And he said, I can pick up your bundle. Well, the great, great aunt, she looked at the skinny, skinny man and she said, you too skinny. I don't think you can pick up anything less yourself. And before she finished her sentence, the man picked up the bundle, put it on his head and started to make his way. Now, where shall we go? Oh, she was so surprised, the great aunt. She said, well, just up ahead. And they walked until they got to the house. He put down the bundle, turned to the woman and said, now, what will you give me? Oh, said the great, great aunt, maybe I can give you some money for carrying the bundle. I need no money. Maybe I will make you a nice meal to eat. Nah, I don't need no meal to eat. And then the great aunt thought, maybe I can give you Tianjie. Ah, said the man with the skinny arms and the skinny legs and the skinny face. Yes, he said, Tianjie. Well, how will I know who is Tianjie? And the great, great aunt said, Tianjie should go to collect water down by the river. I will make her wear a blue dress. Then you will know how to distinguish her to tell her from all the other children, because she will wear a blue dress. Tianjie, at this moment, she was returning to the small cabin and she overheard this blue dress. And she overheard and she saw a skinny, skinny man with skinny, skinny arms and a skinny, skinny face leave by the back door. And Tianjie, she knew what was in store for her. As soon as she entered the house, the great aunt scolded her. You wretched child, you've taken too long. Where have you been? And before you know it, she made her do so much work that day. Tianjie had to sleep on a hard wooden floor. And early in the morning, when she woke up, there on the bed was a blue dress. Tianjie, she knew this. She put on the blue dress. And the great aunt said, now, take the bucket, go down by the river and collect some water. And I hope I never see you. Tianjie picked up the bucket. She started to make her way down by the river. All the other children was there. And they saw Tianjie. They said, Tianjie, why are you crying? And Tianjie, she cried. She was weeping tears. She said, you don't all understand. My great aunt, she does not like me. And she's going to give me away to somebody who I do not know. Oh my God, it's not good. And all the children said, don't worry, Tianjie, don't worry. We will be there for you. We will protect you. They all went home as quick as they can. They all went and they changed themselves and they all had blue clothes. Before you know it, the man came out from his skinny arms and his skinny legs and his skinny face, and he looked around and he saw all the children dressed in blue. He asked them, which one of you is Tianjie? Are you Tianjie? Are you Tianjie? Is he Tianjie? One child said, I'm Tianjie. Another child said, we're Tianjie. All the children said, we are Tianjie, Tianjie too, Tianjie too, Tianjie too. I'm Tianjie, she's Tianjie, he, Tianjie too, Tianjie too. The man said, you all can't be Tianjie, not all of you. And the man went all the way back to the cabin and he said to the great aunt, you have tricked me. What said the great aunt? All the children are dressed in blue. I don't know which one is Tianjie. Ah, said the great aunt, shh, something is going on. Don't worry. I will make her wear a green dress. Tianjie was just returning home and she heard what the green dress, and she saw this man with skinny arms and skinny legs. He left by the back door and the great aunt scolded her and said, now you've taken so long, go and get the water, draw the water. Tianjie, she went back down by the river and all the children was there and Tianjie said, it has not worked. And all the children said, what hasn't worked? Now my great aunt is going to make me wear a green dress. And all the children said, oh, we are sorry for you, Tianjie. And they all departed. Tianjie went back up into the cabin, and the auntie made her work even more. Tianjie, she cried. She slept that night. She woke up in the morning, and there on the bed, of course, was a green dress. Tianjie was weeping tears. She took up the bucket. The great aunt said, well, I hope I don't see you. And Tianjie went down by the river. When she went by the river, she saw all the children dressed in green. The boys had green shirts, green trousers. The girls had green blouses, green skirts. Everyone was dressed in green. Tianjie wiped the tears from her eyes. Before you know it, the man came with the skinny arms and skinny legs and skinny face, and he said, all of you are wearing green. Which one of you is Tianjie? One child said, I'm Tianjie. Another child said, we are Tianjie. Another child said, we are Tianjie. Tianjie too, Tianjie too, Tianjie too. I'm Tianjie, we're Tianjie, she's Tianjie, Tianjie too. Oh my God, said the man with the skinny arms and skinny legs. I've been tricked again. So he went back to the house and he said to the great aunt, you won't trick me now. Oh, said the great aunt, what's going on? They're all wearing green clothes. I don't know which one is Tianjie. Ah, said the great aunt. Shh, the walls have ears. I will make her wear a purple dress. None of them have purple clothes. Don't you worry. Of course, Tianjie was returning, and as she returned, she heard purple. And of course, she saw the man with the skinny arms and skinny legs leaving from the back door. Tianjie, she wept and she cried. The great aunt, she scolded her. I don't know what you're doing. I don't know you and no children playing around. I'm gonna teach you a good lesson. The great aunt really made her work. And before the day was out, the great aunt sent Tianjie back down to the river to draw water, and all the children was there. Tianjie was crying, crying, crying. And the children said, why are you crying? My great aunt is going to make me wear a purple clothes. And none of you have purple. Purple is very hard to get, you know. It's not an easy material. And the children said, we're sorry for you, Tianjie. Tianjie, she went back, and that night she slept on the hard floor with nothing to drink and nothing to eat. Early in the morning, of course, there was the blue dress, the purple dress. Tianjie, she wept tears, tears, tears. She put on the purple dress. She picked up the bucket, and once again, the great aunt said, I hope I never see you. And Tianjie, she walked down by the river. And when she went down by the river, what did she see? The children was all dressed in purple. Purple shirt, purple blouse, purple socks, purple hat. Everyone was wearing purple. Tianjie asked them, how come you have purple? Purple's hard to get. And they said, Tianjie, we got the berries and we soaked our white cotton clothes in berries. And now they've all come out purple. Don't worry, Tianjie, we are your friend. And they started to play and they started to sing. And the man with skinny arms and skinny legs, he came out from hiding. He saw all the children dressed in purple and he asked and said, which one is Tianjie? One child said, Tianjie. Another child said, we are Tianjie. A boy said, we are Tianjie, Tianjie too, Tianjie too, Tianjie too. Tianjie, she's Tianjie, he's Tianjie, Tianjie too, Tianjie too, Tianjie. Oh, the man with the skinny arms and the skinny legs was so vexed. He went all the way back to the cabin. He saw the great aunt and he said, you've tricked me for the last time. He had a big sack and he put her into the sack and wham, he was gone. Tianjie, when she returned home, her great aunt was no longer there. But what Tianjie had learned is that it takes a village to grow a child. And Tianjie, although she felt that she was all alone in this world, she had friends of which she did not know, but now she knew all of them. And that's the end of that quick story.
You know what I like about that story? I mean, not only does it connect me with Ghana, it takes a village to raise a child. Also the rhythm of the story, and you had song in it. And I would like you to perhaps just tell us a little bit more about this rhythm that comes in stories.
The rhythm in the stories, in that traditional sense, there's always a sense of a song that may be embedded in the story, in that traditional format of storytelling, of call and response. Of course, doing it live in front of an audience, you have more rhythm and you have more communication with them. listener. And for myself, doing this on my phone, I can see yourself in John. So I've got some feedback from your presence.
Yes.
So that helps me. But the repetition
yes.
in the story that the character, and in most stories, folk tales, legend, the character comes back again. It reinforces the story, reinforces the characters. Whereas in story writing, we kind of want to move on. We want to move on. We want to move on. Where we're not necessarily, and if we do repeat ourselves in story, it kind of has a style where you've already said that. Do you need to say that again? Kind of quality. Whereas storytelling reinforces the metaphor, the imagery, and the.
Okay, I'll tell you what, Tuup. Beverly says that she likes Anansi stories, and I like Anansi stories. Can all the youngsters do this? I want to see some Anansi spiders. Come on. I want to see, and I'm going to get Tuup to share a short Anansi story. I want Tuup to tell an Anansi story. Are you ready, Tuup? And Nancy's coming. And are we going to have that crick crack, Tuup, or honor and respect? I don't know. What do you reckon?
All of them. If I say crick, you say crack. Crick.
Crack.
And if I say honor, can you say respect? Honor.
Respect.
Well, it's good as well if you're thinking about your story or story writing. It's good to introduce a call and response, or to introduce something that you would like the audience listening to you say back to you, so that they can join you in your poem or join you in your story or come with you in what you have to say. Here's my Anansi story then, quickly. One day, Bra and Nancy was thinking, I need to collect plenty common sense because sometimes my head hurt me and I don't have any good common sense. And Nancy decided to make himself a drum. He found the wood, he hollowed out the wood, and he called his drum the drum of common sense. Why? When Nancy built up this drum, he was so happy. He takes his drum right out into the village. He sit down and he start to beat the drum. Plakatang, 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 plakang, plakang. Well, all the children, when they hear the drum, they know something. So they all kept running. They said, Nancy, tell us a story, tell us a story. And Nancy said, I'm not telling story, I'm on research. Oh, what kind of research? And Nancy said, I'm looking for common sense. I want to put the common sense in my drum. Oh, said the children, what do you mean? And Nancy said, well, when you wake up in the morning, it's good to brush your teeth, clean your skin, and make yourself ready. That's good common sense. Another child said, when you're crossing the road, you must look right, you must look left. Yesterday, Nancy, come beat the drum. Prakatam, prakatam. Another child said, when you want to go swimming and you swim with people, it's best to have a swimming costume. Prakatam, prakatam. And different children presented their common sense and beat into the drum. And Nancy said to all the children, bye-bye, I'm gone, I'll see you later. And he started to walk. As he was walking, he was thinking, where will I hide my drum? If I hide it in my house under the bed, my children will find it, beat the drum, and all the common sense will be free. No. And Nancy was walking. Should I dig a hole and bury it in the ground? No. Because when I want common sense, I have to undig it. It may be raining. There will be mud, dirt everywhere. No. And Nancy was walking. He came to a tall tree. And Nancy looked at the tree and said, that tree so tall, it's holding up the sky. I go climb the tree and put my drum at the topmost branch of that tree. And Nancy put the drum in front of his body. He tied it close to around his waist, he put his arms and his legs around the trunk of the tree and started to climb up and up and up and up. He just became halfway up the tree. The drum shifted and Nancy was losing grip. He slid down, 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 and bam on the bumsy. He said, Nancy, oh, me bumsy boy. Woo. He tightened the drum round the belly again. And he put his arms and his legs around the tree. He climbed up the tree, up and up and up and up. The drum shifted and he was losing grip, sliding down, 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 and bam on the bumsy again. Ow, said Nancy, I hit me bumsy. Woo! And Nancy take the drum. He tie it tight around his waist and the front of him. So tight, this is why spider have small waist. He put his arms and his legs around the trunk of the tree. And then Nancy climbed up and up and up. And the drum shifted again. And Nancy was holding on for dear life, but sliding down. At this time, and Nancy, 2 children, was walking in the forest. And they look up and they see their father halfway up and halfway down. They said, Daddy. And Nancy was sliding down. Daddy, what you doing? And Nancy looked down at his children and said, you children, when you come next to adults and we are working, we forget what we're doing. By this time, Nancy hit the ground. Bam! Oh, said Nancy, look what you make me do. What is it you want to say? And Nancy's daughter said, Daddy, if you are trying to climb that tree with the drum in front of you, isn't it common sense that you put the drum somewhere else? Where do you think a Nancy should put the drum? This is a question I ask you. Where do you think a Nancy should put the drum so he can climb the tree?
Behind his back, like behind him.
On his back.
Of course. He should put it on his back. And you know what? When they said, Nancy, why don't you put the drum on your back? And Nancy was so angry with himself that he did not have the common sense to ask his own children. And Nancy didn't have common sense to put the drum on his back. And Nancy take the drum and he throw the drum. Bam! And the drum break. And when it break, they say all the common sense went floating into the air. And that is why when you and I are born, a little imaginary letter comes into our brain. Our skull closes up. And inside there, we are all born with a little piece of common sense. That's a Nancy story.
Oh, let's give a big clap. Right, this is what I propose. I just saw a lovely cat in the Zoom, and that cat called Phoenix is a brother to our cat called Silver, who's not around at the moment. Otherwise, I will show you. And I know now you've got a cat too called Nubian. Bernice, after I share this 2-minute story, I'd like you to share with us a little bit about what it was like to teach Tuup, because this is so unique. We would love to hear your view as a teacher, because Tuup has said you really inspired him. So as you're thinking about your answer, I'm going to share with you a story about cats and dogs. And in a book by a woman who's no longer with us, she was called Helen Lembanaka. She came from Gabon and she collected all these stories from Gabon. And one of them was called The Cat and the Dog. Now let me hear some dog sounds. I want to hear you all barking and making noise. Come on, I want to hear dog sounds. Yes? I don't just want to hear Tuup, I want to hear you. Oh, Beverly, where's that dog sound? Ow! Naya, I want to hear you bark like a dog. Come on.
Yeah, dog.
Where the dog? Where the dog? Where the dog? Come on, where the dog? Brian, you're not exempt too. Where the dog? And what about the cat? What about the cat? A long time ago, in the country of Gabon, there was a cat and a dog, just like everywhere in the world. They were the best of friends, and how they used to cuddle up to each other. Hey, my friend dog, you are so handsome, oh. Hey, look at you. You are such a good friend to me. After all, I can just rub up against you and stroke you, and you are so loyal to the master, aren't you? And the dog said, oh, oh, oh. Ah, cat, meow. Yes, you're my best friend, oh. Look at you. You are so lovely. And then the cat said, meow. You dog, you are too lazy. You can't even bath yourself properly, eh? You have to go to the pruning place to have your hair cut and to be bathed, and you go into water and you stink. And the dog said, what do you mean, you foolish cat? Look at you. You don't even live in one house. You go from one house to the next house to the next house. Nobody even knows who your home is. You don't even stay in one place. You're not loyal at all. And if a burglar comes into the house, you're just going to sleep and let the burglar steal everything from our master.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, how dare you, dog? How dare you? Look at you. You have to chew bones. You don't even know how to chew bone properly. You are so dirty, and you can't even go and bite people. You are so dangerous. What do you mean, cat? Look at you. You are so wicked. They say you have 9 lives. You can come out from somewhere and scare somebody, and somebody can go. You will go, and nobody will even find you again. And before you knew it, the cat and the dog started to fight and argue, and the friendship was there no more. So one day, dog said to cat, "Cat, come here. We are going to settle this now. Let us wait for our master to go and have a bath. We are both going to go into his bed, and we will sleep there, and we will soon see who is man and woman's best friend." So look at you. Dog said, "My master is going to choose me. After all, I am loyal. Meow, my master will choose me." So that is what they did. Master went out of the room. The cat came in, and she slid into the bed and she started sleeping. And then the dog came into the bed, plumped himself down, curled himself. And then after a little while, master came into the room. Where are those foolish animals? What is this I can smell? Oh, let me get into the bed. I can smell something. He went down to lie down, and then, what are you doing in my bed? You move, you foolish dog. Oh, cat. Oh, you're like a cushion. Oh, come close. Oh. And from that day, cats and dogs argued. And it wasn't the dog, it was the cat that was humans' best friend.
Nice.
So that's another story. So that's a nice opportunity to go over to Bernice. And please, Bernice, share with us your stories of Tuup, because you have inspired him, and what we've got today is so unique, so unique. So I'm so grateful that you have come today. And also, Carmel too, will hear your impact of stories on children. So we start first with Bernice. Thank you.
Well, you put me on the spot, but it was nice of you to give me a couple of minutes notice. But I hope Tuup won't mind. Well, I met Tuup when he was in his last year in secondary school, and one day he came into the unit where I was teaching, and he said, "Oh, I just need somewhere to finish this piece of work," and hand in my folder. And he looked around the room, and on the wall I had lots of books by young Black people and so on. And in those days, I mean, for all the young people there today, you have all beautiful books around you, and Grace has shown us some of them. But in those days, there really was nothing, was there?
No.
And I had made a point of collecting stuff together and having it available. And I think that it immediately, that opened a whole new world to Tuup. you know, as he saw black writers, photos of young black people in books and so on, and it opened a whole world. So he said to me, well, is there anywhere that we could study some more about this? And I have some friends and we're making music together. Is there anywhere we could do this? And that time was my last year in that school as well. And I was transferring to a primary school. So I had a room in Priory Community Centre. And so Godfrey and his group used to come, first of all, once a week, then twice a week, and then 3 times a week. And they used to work on their music and everything. And I used to sometimes make them do a bit of other stuff as well. And I like drama and dance and so on, because we were interested in African and Caribbean culture. And that was another thing that young people weren't getting in schools in those days. So all of you who are in school today, make sure that you're getting it from your teachers, because there is the beautiful books around to help with that. And I started teaching in a primary school. And since Godfrey and his friends were very community minded, and they said, well, we can help you in the classroom. And I happened at that time, just so happened that I was starting a project with the children on Carnival. And the idea was that we had a storybook, a beautiful storybook, a Caribbean folktale, and the children were going to make costumes and do a performance based on that book. They were doing a dance based on that book. So Godfrey came into the classroom and I said, would you read the story?
That's right.
And he said, no, I don't want to. And you know what? Godfrey was one of those children, and maybe some of you children watching are like this as well. One of those children who had no idea what talents he had or how intelligent he was, because nobody had ever told him that before, and he didn't know. And at school, his teachers said, well, you should be a welder.
Yes.
And that was what they were preparing him to do. So Godfrey, when he got the book, he did not have that confidence to read it. He did not have that confidence. And I tell you this story because it might apply to some of you who are watching as well. Yes. But you never know what your potential is. And there you might have the most amazing potential if you just free yourself. So he was reading this and he came day after day to help. And I said, you know, I don't want you to read this story, because with a story, I'm sure that you'll agree, because you've just heard Tuup tell you stories. If somebody's telling you a story direct, it's much more exciting and much more interesting. I said, I want you to tell this story and you make it come alive. And he said, I can't. So he's there with this book with lots of long words and long sentences and difficult to read. And I said, I don't want you to read it. I want you to tell it.
Yes.
And you'd come back the next day and he would say, I can't tell it. I have to read it. And he thought that to tell a story, you had to know it off by heart. I think that's what he thought. Or that you could only tell a story if it was the exact words on the stage. Oh, sorry, on the page. And he was up one day, he was up there on the stage reading this book. And I got absolutely exasperated. And I ran up the steps on the side of the stage and I snatched the book away and I said, now tell it. And lo and behold, Tuup turned out to be the brilliant storyteller that you've heard him today.
Very true.
Is that true? It's true.
Yeah, true events, very true events.
Absolutely true. And he went on from there, went and became, he got invited very quickly. There was the first National Storytelling Festival.
In Battersea, was no, Waterman's.
Waterman's in Brentford, and he got invited to perform there. And you may have seen Michael Rosen tell the story as I heard his radio program. His father was called Harold Rosen, Michael Rosen's father.
Yeah.
And he was the foremost storyteller and a university professor, a very, very famous. Grace knows who he was. And when he saw Godfrey on stage, and remember that this was somebody who only just left school. When he saw Godfrey on stage, he said, "This is the most talented young Caribbean storyteller in the country." Godfrey was about 17, and he was on the stage with all of these people like Mark Matthews. And within the next year, the National Association of English Teachers invited Godfrey to do training for them at their annual conference.
Oh, yeah.
So I just want you to think about that, think about yourselves and how within a year, you know, somebody can go from having no idea what they're capable of to being totally respected. And we all know now he's respected all over the world, and including at Wappy.
Yeah.
Thank you, Denise. You know what? That was an I didn't know this story. That was amazing. And we have to give honor and respect to you and to all our teachers. Thank you. That was a wonderful sharing. And Carmel, before we end with Tuup, we're going to end fairly soon. The children have been extremely engaged. Let's just have a minute from Carmel to add your voice, and then we can finish with Tuup.
Very short, because I'm not a good storyteller as for you or Berenice. But basically, I when I was in my early 20s, late teens, early 20s, I decided I wanted to be a teacher. And I decided I wanted to be an English teacher because I had this absolutely wonderful English teacher. I don't think she minds me saying, Mrs. Wright. And she just really turned me on to English so much. And I loved to hear stories. As I said, I loved reading. And it was at the time she used to come to my house to pick me up, to take me to these various activities that were taking place in London Bridge. Like we would do, what do you call it? The Canterbury Tales. They would have different things, and we would actually walk around London Bridge and take active part in doing all these things. And I was so inspired that I decided I wanted to teach English to children because I loved it so much. And I love to, you know, to work with them, to see their writing take shape and form. And as, you know, as Godfrey knows, and I knew, you might not have much, your teacher will bring things out in you. That's what my teachers did. Your teacher would bring that you don't know. And it was so wonderful to bring things out of them, get them to tell their stories, write their stories, find their confidence. And I'll never forget, I taught in Trinidad once. And this, when I was at the end of my tenure, this child came up to me and he said, "Thank you, miss. Thank you for helping me with, you know, with my difficulties." I didn't even know the child had a difficulty. But a wonderful writer. And anyway, it's just to encourage children to get, you know, to be creative. That's what I enjoy.
Well, you know what? I can identify with that. I'll finish with Tuup, but I remember when I teach at the British Museum, and about 3 or 4 years ago, a school came in. It was a faith school, an Islamic school. And the teacher said to me, this little Nigerian boy who's Muslim, he's an elective mute. Now, an elective mute child is a child that chooses not to speak. They can speak with one or with maybe a parent or a brother or a sister, but usually in public, they won't talk at all. And I was telling the story. It was called Emeka's Gift. It's about a little boy who wants to buy a gift for his grandma in Nigeria. And the story's a counting story. He wants to buy like some beads or calabash or a drum. That's how the story goes. And by the end of the story, this little boy just came out. He picked the map and he said, Nigeria, this is my, and he started talking, and the teacher and the whole class was shocked.
Wow.
So much so that the worker teacher emailed me to talk about the experience, to thank me, and I had to share that with my boss. And I'll never forget that. So, you know, stories can literally touch people's soul.
Unlock.
And all that, unlock us too. You have the final word. Unlock us. Thank you so much, bro.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, Grace, and to everyone for asking me to take part. And I hope that those of you, young ones, who are thinking about storytelling and story writing, when you write your story and you put your story on the page, and if you have a chance and you would like to recite what you've written, then, you know, try to remember as much as you can from what you've written, and then leave the page and tell it from your heart and tell it from your feeling. It doesn't have to be exact. It doesn't, you're not an actor, so you have to say things exactly as they are scripted, but you can still have the emotion and the feeling and convey all of that because you know what you've written. Now you just have to carry that in yourself and deliver that. And it's not easy when you're young, when you're 10 or 11 or 12, but it helps you to grow. So although it might not feel easy when you're 7 or 8 or 9 or 10, if you can do it and attempt to do it, this will help you to grow in many ways.
Fantastic. And let's give Tuup a big clap for coming into Wappy, everyone.
Yes, Tuup.
Thank you so much. It's been amazing. Keep on keeping on, and thank you, Bernice. Thank you, Kamal, and thank you all of you contributing. And you know what, young people, never let anybody take your dreams away. You know, every one of you should believe in yourselves, and I'm sure you do. But whatever you want to do in life, you say to yourself, you can do it. All right, that's so important, because I started off at school not achieving, and there are so many of us are in that boat, and it's very difficult now in the lockdown. We don't know what's happening with our subjects, whether we're sitting exams or whether we're going to get teacher assessed. Just don't give up on yourselves. Know that you are important, you are special, you can do anything you want in life, okay? And don't let anybody take away your dreams. So have a wonderful week. Stay good, stay well, and be strong. Thank you. Bless.
Bless.
Bye, Tuup. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Beautiful.
Thank you, Benny. Have a wonderful week.
Enjoyed
All
it.
of you. Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you, Naya. Thank you. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Olivia. Thank you, Bernice. Thank you, June. Thank you, Kamal in Asia. Thank you, Carmel. Thank you,
Wave, come on in Asia. Wave.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Thank you, darling. Thank you. Okay. Bye.